welcome back, fight fans, for yet another episode of Shooting the Shit here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I am Riley Kontek, here as always with the self-proclaimed worst podcast in MMA. We continue with, we're in the teens. We haven't gotten to 20 yet, but we're still in the teens, and somehow Keith Schillen lets this show continue. We're back here. We have a very special guest, but before we get to her, of course, I do want to plug my sponsor. If you are in Illinois, as many of our viewers are, please head over to Facebook if you have any construction needs, home construction, inside, outside, and check out Cornelius & Sons on Facebook. They do work on my house all the time. They're very good. They're very, very dependable, and they have very good prices. So ask for Raul. Get over to Cornelius & Sons on Facebook, again, for indoor and outdoor construction housing project needs. Now, without further ado, we have yet another fantastic guest on this show. She was featured on The Ultimate Fighter. She is also currently in the UFC. She has moved up to flyweight ever since. She was formerly a strawweight. She is Justine Kish. Justine, how are you doing today?
Good. And I see you say quiche like a lot of people do. It is quiche, but I don't. But just so you know, yeah.
I should know that. Really, I should.
It's a common mistake, but it's all right. So now you know. But yeah, so quiche.
I thought I was saying it the Eastern European way. I guess I'm not. I don't know.
The last time quiche is Hungarian. So yeah, the family that adopted me, he was Hungarian, and he was able to speak a little Russian with me, and then he passed away, and I forgot it. But yeah, so quiche is Hungarian, and a lot of people say quiche, but it doesn't. It's all good.
I really should know that at this point. I just said it like I have most of my family is Polish. I just said it how I thought a Polish person would say it, and I was still wrong. So
who knows? It changes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. A lot of people get my name wrong, my last name wrong too. I don't know how, but it's probably the same thing for you. You probably don't know how people just get it wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm not. How do you say it?
My last name is Kontek. Yeah. A lot of people say contact, like the contact lens, and I'm just like, I mean, it ends in an EK. You know, it shouldn't be rocket science, but
yeah, I hear ya. Well,
so Justine, it's great to have you on here. I've been following you for a really long time. Before the Ultimate Fighter days. I know it feels like just yesterday I was scouting you, and now all of a sudden you're, at least a half dozen time UFC veteran. So that's always cool when I get people like you on the show. Just to get a little background, obviously, you were adopted, as you said, but you came here. So like, how did you get into martial arts? I know you started in Muay Thai, if I'm not mistaken. How did you get into that?
Sorry to interrupt, but I started with traditional martial arts. I was very, very hyper. So my mom, after school, would get me in all sorts of sports. So sometimes after school, I would even be doing 2, sometimes 3 extracurricular activities or sports. Actually, figure skating was something that I absolutely really loved when I was living in Pennsylvania. But I started with traditional martial arts, Kempo karate. I was actually trying out for a soccer team, a middle school soccer team, and I guess I was just too wild on the field. I didn't pass well. I didn't make the team or whatever, the soccer team. And so mom one day was like, do you want to take karate classes? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I got into karate, and I saw some of these kids and adults with black belts, and I knew enough that the black belt was the highest level. And I was already sizing them up day one. And I was like, well, if they can be black belts, I'm going to definitely crush these guys. So I stayed there, and I even lied to mom. Like, I was like, hey, mom, I have this class and that class. And I didn't realize there was like a whole payment method. And so they started catching on that it wasn't really leaving, I guess. And they're like, hey, your mom has to like sign you up for these classes. You can't just take whatever classes you want. And so she ended up signing me for the unlimited programs. And then in my teenage years, I got really involved with a self-defense system called Krav Maga, and I was so all about it, loved it, and I really learned. It really channeled all of my energy. Like, it was something I actually had to conserve energy for, and there's not many things that exhaust me. And I was like, I loved it. And I did seminars all over with my instructors and attended all sorts of conventions and martial arts conventions. And then I started teaching adult self-defense when I was like 16, 17. And then during martial arts convention or self-defense convention or something, I came across Muay Thai, and I dabbled, being in martial arts, I dabbled with boxing, with kickboxing, with jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't until I got into I met Master Toddy, and he really opened my eyes for Muay Thai. And I met him in Florida, and then he invited me to go train and be one of his fighters in Bangkok. I flew out there, and I stayed out there for a few weeks by myself. My instructor's mentor, he met me when I were in the middle of my camp out there. I won my first Muay Thai fight by first round knockout, and by then I was already established in Kempo. I think 2 second degree black belt in Kempo. And I've already been doing a little grappling, a little bit of boxing. So, I won my first Muay Thai fight out in Thailand, by first round knockout, and I loved it. I wanted to do it more and more. And, then I went away from Toddy's, Muay Thai and really jumped into like real Muay Thai gyms, like Fairtex, and that was an amazing one too. And then Simbi Muay Thai, and next thing you know, I'm taking like 11, 12 trips out there. I think it was a little bit, I think I have to double check, a little bit over 40 Muay Thai fights. So all in all of my, with kickboxing, I'm a professional kickboxer, boxer, kickboxer, MMA, and, Muay Thai fighter. And so maybe around 50 fights, and three career losses. 2 of those career losses back to back in UFC. So, that was hard on me, but I blame trying to figure out the arena, the octagon, it's a lot more running around the room.
For sure, yeah. Especially in the UFC, I think they have the biggest, they obviously have the biggest cage in MMA, but.
Yeah. I would think that kind of smaller just for more engagement. So again, they have their strategy. That's a huge company, very successful. They know. And
it seems like lately with the fights they put on since they've gone to the Apex, I think they've gone with the smaller cage, if I'm not mistaken.
It's smaller, correct. So that's better for me. I like that. It's frustrating when people are running around all over the place. And then so 2012, I won the World Championships in Muay Thai with Simbi Muay Thai, the WMC World Title. And then that's really when everything happened with Ronda. Ronda was really setting the pace for women's MMA, and I got a call saying they're gonna have 115 Ultimate Fighter. I'm sorry, I tried out for another one first, and they said I was too small.
Oh, the bantamweight season that she was, yeah.
Yeah, so got invited to try out for that, and I was led to believe I had made it until the week I was supposed to fly out. They said, no, you're actually too small for this weight category. And then they're like, hey, we're going to do 115. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can make it, but I'll try. Took a few practice fights in LA, got with Blackhouse, and got with, then I became one of Ed Soares' athletes. He's my manager. And he also managed Anderson Silva. So these guys knew everything about MMA, and they led me in the right direction on what I need to do to prepare and to adjust to the MMA scene. So it was, very, very fast paced, but I was just like, okay, show up, train, and take the opportunities that are open. And so, now I'm preparing for my 6th UFC fight. So, now I'm having to learn the entertainment side of it, as well as the sports side of it.
Yeah, it's I've said it's kind of, and I don't know if you'll get the reference, that UFC has kind of become what pro wrestling was in the 80s and 90s, where it's a lot more selling the fight. It's, you're not selling the steak, you're selling the sizzle. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that. And it's a good result. And I think actually this is going to be kind of weird. I don't know if this is unrelated, but I actually think COVID has been good for the UFC because their pay-per-view numbers have been way up in the last couple that they've done because there's just no other sports that people are watching.
I don't understand why every sport doesn't just do that. Everyone just put it on the television. So again, I know very little about, ticket sales, and UFC is defined as entertainment business before a sport business. And again, they're a massive company, and they have lots of money behind them. The performance institutes that they have in Las Vegas and the one in Shanghai oh my God, they're incredible. So I'm very, very fortunate to be on the roster and to be active. But at the same time, it's a really hard crowd to impress.
Absolutely. MMA fans are needy. Oh, we're freezing there.
There's a lot of running around. It's very long. Oh, am I there yet?
Yep, you're back.
Am I back? Okay. So the last fight against Lucy.
Yeah.
This gives you an example of the kind of crowd you're trying to entertain is it was a lot of running around. She was very, very long, and so I'm not gonna charge someone that's very, very long unless I feel like, oh, this is a great time. But she never did. And so then next thing I was like, boo, I'm like, whatever. So then to cover some space, I did like spinning back flips. Next thing you're like, yeah, the crowd freaks out. And I swear, like 10 seconds go by and they're back to booing. I'm like, God, Lee, I cannot. You guys are so tough to please.
Yeah. A lot of MMA fans are really dumb too. I remember I was doing event coverage for an Invicta card, and someone had someone on the ground, and she was like trying to get an arm bar, and you just hear this drunk guy stand up and go, "Kick her in the face!" And it was like, that's not how that works, sir.
It's that the things you hear. That's a nice thing that I've heard some really vulgar stuff in there. I'm like, I don't know what they think this is. Like, I don't.
There's a lot of them that think they think they're fighters. I was at a Bellator event in Chicago, and throughout the night there were 3 fights in the stands. I was like, there was more fights in the stands than there were on the prelims. I mean, it was insane.
Wow. Yeah. So I'm learning how to keep up with this crowd and entertain. And again, I'm an athlete. I train. I work really hard every day. I stay as disciplined as possible. Of course, I go in there wanting to win. I'm also trying to be calculated in there. I don't want to, finish my career just yet. I'm on my 4th knee surgery, and I'm at it, and I feel good. So there's some strategy to it, but at the same time, like I have to be able to. I gotta promote myself and entertain the crowd, because the crowd is what pays us pretty much, right?
It's a balance, because you have to win your fight, so you're not going to be on the roster, but you also have to be marketable and entertain people, or else they don't want to tune in. I mean, that's just how it is. That's how fickle MMA fans can be.
What? That's on day. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, he said the best day 1 of The Ultimate Fighter, maybe day 1, 2, whatever. He came in and he was like, "Hello, girls." He had his little prompt in front of, and he was like, "Just so you guys know, we love it when people absolutely love you and you have a big following. And even if you're hated, if people are like booing you, the reaction is great. But the worst thing is when no one knows you or does anything or has any comment. So, you got to say, we don't care if they absolutely love you or if they absolutely hate you. It's entertainment.
Any reaction is good. I mean, think about it. 2 of the most hated fighters in the UFC are probably John Jones and Colby Covington. They're both headliners, and I mean, they can't really do any wrong.
I'm like, how do they do it? Yeah, but I can't bring myself to act like that. I mean, sometimes I also get, they don't have the best behavior outside of. So I don't know. I can't bring myself to start getting arrested and start cutting.
It's easy. Believe me, it's easy to get arrested. It's not that big of a deal.
I had my teeth my college years. I've had my fair share, so I'm good.
So you were just talking about the knee surgeries. That's caused you to be a little bit inactive for a couple of years there. You finally came back, as you mentioned, against Kudalova. How was kind of taking that first fight back after basically 2 years of not being in the cage?
I had one surgeon. He wasn't able to fix my knee. He always does, just because I guess there was a change in policies, whatever. So then I had to ask around the other surgeons, and they're like, no, like, you're done. Like, I was like, no, I'm not, dude. Like, and I'm definitely not going to try to convince a surgeon that you should fix it. If he doesn't think like he can fix it, I'm going to go move on to someone that has the belief they can do it. And so I came across an awesome LA surgeon, and he's like, yeah, I got this. you're going to be out for a while though, but we can fix it. So I had to get my ACL, MCL, PCL, and a little bit of the meniscus replaced. But the whole thing, so it was my second reconstruction. I've had 4, so the other 2 were kind of related with each other. They're still a little bit massive, but yeah. So I kind of blame it on the straw weight, because I did lots of running to lose the weight. I walk around, 140s, and so when I'm in the camp in mid 30s, 130s, so getting the 115, I just did these long runs. I run 6 to 8 miles a day, maybe 3 to 4 in the morning, 3 to 4 miles at night, and in between all of the workouts that I had to. Well, it goes to show that I haven't had a knockout since I went to a straw weight, and I haven't had a finish either. So I lost a lot of muscle. So I've worked with several coaches and working on building that up. I feel like it's coming back. I'm back at 125. So the last 115 show was horrendous. So, I was like, all right, I'll just go to 125 and maybe I'll start walking around at a lower weight or something, but I can't do all these really, really long runs and stuff. And I blame it on that because the way my knee popped and the way it really should not have gone the way it did. So I just blame wear and tear on that. And me being, hard-headed, and I can do all of it. And
yeah.
I lost.
And if it means anything, I'll say 2 things here. If it means anything, I actually like you at 125 better just from watching the fights. Second thing I'm going to say, you saying you're walking around in the 140s. I haven't been at 140 since I think I was in 6th grade. So just be happy that you're able to walk around that light. Life's not easy as a 215 pounder.
I mean, don't get me wrong, get a lot bigger, but my workouts and I'm back to my diet regimen. Yeah, I'm 130, 135. So 125 is really nice because I usually just have to cut a couple of pounds.
So you're saying that my diet of eating everything that's deep fried is probably not a good idea?
Oh, it's a great idea, but if you want to lose weight, no.
I'm happy. I'm happy with being a fat idiot. It's all right. So going towards the fight that we have on the plate now, at the time of this taping, it's a couple weeks from now. You were mentioning off air before we got on here, and we'll just kind of recap it just so everyone else is, privy to the conversation. Obviously, the big thing going on right now is COVID. You were actually in Shanghai during the outbreak of this, so kind of explain what was going on there, and just give us the full story. What happened with that?
I was in Shanghai. So the first year I was in Las Vegas, and then once I got cleared, within the year, a lot of things have shifted. Teammates go to different places. So I was like, where am I going to train? And I've got to start small and then go back to, regular people kicking and punching and, hitting me and attacking my leg. I don't want people too big doing that. I got to make sure it really is sturdy. And at that same time, the Performance Institute was building in Shanghai, was building the MMA Combine program. So these are all the prospects in Asia, and they want to do like a combine program out there. So I had an MMA program that also coaches and techniques and drills and MMA. So this is exactly what I need, kind of train my body, how I'm going to maneuver and how I'm going to start, going back to these rigorous training camps. But I had to start at the basics, like as though I'm learning how to do it all myself. And obviously these are very perishable skills when you're not drilling it and instilling it every single day. So I had to relearn a lot of stuff, and I forgot a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot of things. And so here I'm in Shanghai. I think I was there for a few months, 4 or 5 months or something. Anyways, I was learning I was learning Chinese, but just gym talk Chinese. Like I can't speak a full. I'm a few words here. I'm very broken, like a foreign 5-year-old. Like I didn't have a vast vocabulary whatsoever. But I was able to pick up a few words here and there. So I definitely really didn't communicate or talk to too many. Whenever I'm at the Performance Institute, I'm under the Zuffa umbrella. So actually their whole area, that whole thing is rewired. That whole facility is rewired so that we can communicate with the outside public. So rewired as though we're like in another country. Because if we because China is so locked in. Like information doesn't come out and it doesn't really come in there. And no one really watches the media in Asia and China because I even asked them, like, why, there's not a lot of people that watch the news, and they're like, it's a joke to them. I said, it's all propaganda.
Right, of course.
Really, no one watches the news. And they said, you're American. You guys have so much news. I'm like, yeah, that's so true. And that everyone falls for the hype, right? So a lot of people don't really watch the news just because they say it's not real.
Right.
So that was definitely interesting. So I didn't hear of any coronavirus whatsoever. So I'm in Shanghai, and maybe the Wuhan's around 8 hours, we'll say. I don't know exactly from Shanghai. And I still haven't heard anything. I was out in the public, and everyone always, from all of my several trips in Thailand, everyone wearing masks. They always do. So the mask thing is not a huge deal for me because it was so common for me to see that and especially in China, everyone wearing masks. And I really didn't, but there wasn't forced either. But again, we heard of really nothing. And actually, the first I landed in the States to prepare to finalize my camp with my West Coast coach, Kenny Johnson. And I got there and they're like, oh my God, you just coming from China? What about the virus? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, we didn't know what they were talking about either because we weren't told either.
Yes, it was just really surprising. And I was like, and then the 31st. And so in theory, with all the stuff going on and things in the training, I should have gotten it by now, but I've done several tests. My mom is, very ill. So I've taken several tests, and I haven't had it, but in theory, I should have.
Did you take the antibody test?
I did not, no.
Okay. Cause I mean, that would tell you, well, it might be a little too late now because you haven't been in China, but I mean, I believe the antibody test tells you if you've had the virus in the last 3 months or so.
Well, I never felt sick, so if I did, it would be what's that word?
Asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, yeah. So,
a lot of people had that though.
So yeah, I'd be interested, but I just had to make sure. I was just nervous of being asymptomatic and giving it to my mom because I only got to see her a couple of times, with her being in and out of the hospitals and the nursing homes and facilities. So I had to make sure I was extra safe. Yeah, that's just how, if that goes to show you anything, like I really didn't, I didn't hear of anything going on. So there's still some lingering suspicion in my head. I'm like, what's really going on with this virus?
Right. So when you were at the Performance Institute in Shanghai, where did you stay? Like, did they have a place for you to stay or?
You can stay. You're definitely welcome to stay in the dorm life, and it's a rough dorm life. I mean, we're talking about like bunk beds and being with and I could have if I wanted to, and not rough. I mean, they're just small, very very small. Yeah. A lot of the rooms didn't even have windows or anything, but it didn't really matter because you just slept there and you wake up and you go straight to the facility. So there were very small apartments, but I had my own apartment, which is really awesome. I had, it was 2 stories, but still very small. And so it was kind of like diagonal away. So not even very, very close, not even a quarter of a mile, from the facility. So I walked every day. I didn't drive. I drive in, a motorbike in, Thailand, but not in Shanghai just because of rules or just because it's very, very, a lot more strict there, a lot more, you don't want to really get in trouble with anything over there.
I wouldn't.
So I stayed at the apartment there, and so there was a few rostered. It's open, of course, the facility and the Combine program is is free and open for the rostered athletes, for the rostered UFC fighters. But it's not easy to get in there or get an apartment, but or getting my visa. But the Performance Institute is very helpful in that whole entire process. I did have to travel a little bit and do a little bit of extra work to put all the papers together to make sure I was granted a visa, and I was granted a 10-year Chinese visa. And I just have to exit the country every 90 days, blah, blah, blah. So I was able to stay there. I had to go on a couple of runs, to make sure, I could, to update my visa, right?
All right, guys, our connection came out, but we're actually going to continue speaking. I'm going to blame it on her internet and not mine because I'm a coward, and I'm actually going to flip my video on. All right, there we go. Everyone's got to see my beautiful face. All right, so we were just talking. You can kind of pick off where you were just going off at. Kind of coming into this camp with Sabina Mazo or Mazo. I'm going to screw up her last name too, just to be fair. So you were at the Performance Institute in Shanghai. Just kind of talk about what you're going through with this camp right now with Sabina Mazo.
This camp, well, yeah, I was at the performances in Shanghai, but that was for my last camp. This camp, I'm in Los Angeles, working with Kenny Johnson, with Cabrinha. Cyborg and I were going to, we work a couple of times, but she actually is, in association with the same, with my opponent's camp. So I think she's working with her and to keep all my secrets safe. We just kind of separated, and we'll revisit being training partners maybe next time. So we see each other high and by with our coaches, but who knows? Maybe I don't know. She's working with Sabina's team too, so we just kind of went our separate ways, and it's been a hard camp because right after my last fight, I took a few months off and decided to go back to North Carolina to help my mom out. But she just got so sick. So it took several months. And then I had to prep her house for sale, move everything out. It was my childhood home for 20 plus years. Had to tell mom she couldn't live there anymore. That was heartbreaking. But it all kind of came together at the end, got the house prepped and ready for sale. And for several months went off, and I started training, moved back to Los Angeles, started training camp, and I had to do a lot of catching up because I was like, oh my God, I just can't believe how much, I thought I'd be able to pick it off just where I left off, I guess, my age is catching up with me a little bit. I don't know what it is, but the start was a little slow, but back to normal now.
That's good. And here, the interesting thing about the fight with Mazo is you guys kind of have similar paths to the UFC. You were both LFA affiliated, and she was a big star with them before they came here. You were obviously a star with LFA. Or it was before that. I think it was RFA, yep. Right? But they merged. So it's kind of an interesting, so in terms of Mazo as an opponent, kind of just comment on her as opponent. What do you think her strengths are? What do you think her weaknesses are?
She has good accuracy. She has good head kicks, good accuracy. But I feel like I'm more athletic. I feel like I'm stronger, and more well-rounded. Again, she has good accuracy, and she seems to really pick up throughout the rounds as the rounds go. First, second, third round, she always seems to improve every round. So she has legs for a date, so her knees come out of every direction. So she has very long arms, very long legs. So that's always, a threat. That's dangerous because things can happen, when you think you're out of that range, when you're going against a girl that long. But, yeah, I'm not concerned. I'm excited to fight her. At first I didn't really care. Like, I was like, there's a lot of, a little bit of depression with mom stuff going on. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll just compete and, call it. But now it's getting closer. I'm getting excited. The normal fight week feels are approaching. So thank goodness, because before I was just indifferent and, just felt like any other day. But now the mood and the attitude is picking up now. Thank goodness, because I was like, this is weird. It doesn't even feel like, there's any excitement to this right now. I'm just going to go against this girl and that's it and call it a day. But that's changed. So I got to make sure I don't give her a chance to, find her range with me. I've got to shut her down, and, all of my UFC fights have gone to decision. So I really want to get a finish. I keep on saying I'm going to get a finish, and, it hasn't happened yet, but I swear I'm working for it. I want to finish it just as much as the fans want me to get a finish or to see a finish. So that's definitely something I'm working for, because I want that to happen. So I think if I do a good job, make sure don't let her find her range, then this should be a good fight for me, a good way to highlight my skill sets.
What do you think you have to do to get the win? This will be kind of our last question, and then we'll kind of wrap things up here. What is not necessarily your strategy, because you don't want to give that away, but what do you think is how do you exploit her to get the victory? What do you think you have to do?
I gotta get her right at the start. Don't give her a chance to breathe. Don't give her a chance to measure shit out. I just gotta get after her and not give her a chance to even like see what's coming.
For sure, and I think that's a good strategy. And again, it's a good matchup. You're both, primarily strikers. Like I said, I think you're a little more well-rounded than she is. But I know if it's a Muay Thai fight she wants, I'm sure it's a Muay Thai fight you'll give her, given your background.
Yeah, for sure. Like if she wants to go that route, that's fine. It's just a lot more brutal. But okay, yeah, if she wants to go that route, that's totally fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna go hang in there too much with it because her elbows and her knees, and she has her really good mobility. So when you think a knee should stop, it's not gonna go anymore. It continues. I see that. So and she uses her height against girls in clinch a lot. So I'm ready for it. I know she studies my videos, and this time I'm starting to study videos too, because I never did that, but I'm definitely doing that now. And, I'll be aware of what's coming, but again, keeping my expectations low because, people can change things up, coaches up, and I'm not gonna just assume that's all the stuff she knows. Things change up for sure, but that's that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to finally get that UFC finish that you're looking for, and then there's no crowd there to be cheering. It's gonna be so weird.
That might be nicer. Maybe it's been the crowd that's been kind of
You'll hear 2 or 3 cornermen going.
Oh no, Kenny Johnson. No, you'll hear Kenny very, very low. I mean, sometimes I'd be like, "Hey man, everyone can hear you," and he does not care. So, Kenny Johnson will be my corner. So you'll hear everything he's saying to me. You'll probably hear him cussing me out and all of this stuff. But
only good coaches cuss their athletes out, and I know that from experience.
No love. Some love.
Well, Justine, we really, really appreciate you having on the show and giving us your time, especially during a training camp. Before we sign out here, is there anybody you'd like to thank? Anybody you'd like to shout out? The floor is yours.
Of course, my team, Black House MMA Bolt Wrestling, my coach, Trifecta, they are amazing. They're sending me a bunch of meals every week, and I love it. I don't have to think about cooking and all that stuff. So, my meals are all, proportioned exactly how I need with my proteins, my carbs. I absolutely love it. Of course, my sponsors that have been taking care of me in and out of, camps. They know who they are. I don't have to go through the whole list of it, but, of course, I'm just letting them know they're greatly appreciated, and for everyone, the fan support and for their patience, the mean ones, the nice ones, just thanks for the engagement. Thanks for, keeping our sport alive and for tuning in, even when there's no spectators, right? So being able to tune into the streaming and through television. Thank you, all of you guys, for keeping our sport alive.
Perfect.
And thank you for having me on your show.
Oh.
Ask great questions. So thank you for giving me the platform to talk about other things. Yeah.
Well, that's the first time this show has gotten a compliment, so thank you for that. I'm, of course, going to plug myself before we go. Make sure you check out my work on MMA Intel. We got new scouting reports every week on prospects. We got rankings. We got these episodes posted there. I believe this is episode 18 or 19. Head over to Combat Press. We have started posting the podcast there as well. I do the women's MMA rankings for them. And we also do Dana White Contender Series pieces every week. So I'm actually starting to work for them a little bit. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook posting nonsense, and that's about it. So, Justine, again, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been very, very nice to have you and very interesting stuff. We'll do our sign out here. So, fellas, ladies, watching this horrible, horrible podcast, continue to watch fights. Continue to watch this podcast. Go fuck yourselves. Good night.